Leeds United have just finished their match against Plymouth Argyle at home, and they made it a little bit trickier than it had to be. After what was an incredibly dominant first half, they conceded a fairly late goal just to make things a little bit more spicy. In this video, I'm going to run through what happened in roughly the order it happened, a bit of analysis into the way that we played, the way that they played, and what it means for the table overall. First up, there was a really, really high-pressing and active start from Leeds United. There was only one little change in the first 11, and that was the fact that Pascal Strout couldn't play, Liam Cooper had to, and that didn't affect the way that we pressed from the front. Our structure at the top of the pitch was the same as always, the same front four, the same midfield two. That meant that everyone sort of understood where they needed to be, where everyone else was, and where to apply pressure on the other side. And we kept this pressure up and we kept creating opportunities. And there was a fairly early Rutter penalty shout, but I don't think it was a penalty. It was a little bit of a nudge, but it gets given in the Premier League, doesn't in the EFL. These things happen. But against our press, Plymouth were relatively happy to sit fairly early on. They were happy to sit, absorb as much pressure as they could, and then ideally try and turn it into a counter-attack early on. That worked a couple of times. They were able to break through the press and attack our four defenders, who, let's be honest, at points it felt like two defenders because the wing-backs are very high up in this system. After that, we got a nice little Somerville chance from a Dan James cross. Dan James, I think, had an incredible match today. He is somehow getting better and better and better and is showing why we paid the money that we did for him. Admittedly, I do accept that this is the Championship rather than the Premier League, but that doesn't stop the fact that he's showing his skill. This is the one Somerville had at the back post where he tried to volley it, landed against the Plymouth Argyle player's leg, and we kept having chances like that throughout the match. Chances where, for a little bit luckier or any other day, it probably goes in. That's why I think in this match, I've not seen the numbers or anything. Sorry, I just saw over there that Ipswich have finished playing, but they won. Leicester lost, which is very, very good for us. So we'll have a quick look at the table at the end of the video. Yeah, we kept having those chances where we were unlucky that they didn't go in, and I'm sure that the XG was absolutely through the roof on this one. Eventually, thankfully, we were able to make it 1-0. Very, very, very nice. And it's Dan James's redemption arc continuing to happen. Hammered a finish. I would say the far post, but he was sort of central to the goal. Right into the corner. And it was just stunning. Fantastic finish. More than happy with it. Then, fairly quickly, we turned it to 2-0. And we turned it to 2-0 because Joel Pirro is absolutely on his game. And he did that thing that he does from number 10, which is arrive relatively late in the box. Down the left-hand side, goes around the outside of Crescencio Somerville, who all match Plymouth were not able to handle Somerville. His flicks, his tricks, the way that he's able to pass the ball and then move into space, Plymouth had nothing to do against him. They were just under constant threat. And in this case, he nice and deftly laid the ball off for Joel Pirro, who put it between the goalkeeper's legs. Fantastic finish. Absolutely no complaints from me. That was just one of their goalkeeper's mistakes, though. His distribution throughout the match was absolutely awful. Anytime he was pressed, he would just punt it as far as he could, and it would either end up with one of our players or completely out of play, a third of the way down the pitch, down the left flank. He very clearly wasn't comfortable with the ball at his feet, and I felt like we sort of learned that as we went on and pressed him even more and forced him into more mistakes. The amount of turnovers that must have come from him missing long balls is incredible. Although, towards the end of the match, we sort of helped him out with his pass accuracy percentage by the fact that we sat in a little bit at 2-1. We'll get to that. Something else I noted in the first half before we get to halftime was that Archie Gray seemed almost effortless. The number of times he would steal the ball from their winger or just dribble his way out of danger with three Plymouth players pressing up against him, thinking, he's just 17, he won't be able to handle it. And he did every single time. Archie Gray is showing why there is so much interest in him, reportedly from Liverpool, but surely from across the rest of English football, because he's just got a lot of talent, and I really hope we can hold him for a long, long time. Then we got to halftime, and we were looking incredibly comfortable, and I think we were looking very, very comfortable until Sam Byram went down injured. We knew this would happen at some point. Sam Byram has been an absolute stalwart in this team. He's been someone that we can trust week in, week out to play, put in plenty of minutes. And although he has gotten to playing 3 matches a week, 1 second. Sorry about that dog interruption. This is the fun part where I try and work out exactly what I'd said beforehand. Yeah, Sam Byram was playing 3 games a week, which was completely fantastic. However, we knew he was coming with injury issues. We knew that it wasn't necessarily going to be the most permanent, consistent thing that we were going to get. And eventually he became unavailable, down injured. It seems like he was able to walk off the pitch. He looked fine on pitch side, but it's fine enough to have a bit of a break. He's deserved it. And it saw the return of Junior Firpo, who I think was solid enough in this match. I think a lot of people might say that the goal came down his side, but I think that was more Ampadu and Cooper losing their man, whereas Firpo was on the guy that was on the wing. We'll see how the general commentary pans out, but I think that he was completely fine on there, at least from a first replay. Then we had a weird one, which was some deeply weird refereeing throughout the match, including a time when Somerville was clearly fouled at least twice, but stayed on his feet, which I think was very, very admirable, and yet he didn't get a free kick for it. And that happened time and time again. Like, Plymouth started resorting to fouls on repeat. I don't know what that was, but we'll find out. Plymouth started resorting to repeatedly fouling us after bringing on Edwards, who was almost asking for a really, really foam challenge coming his way with the way that he was treating our players. But the referee seemed at first really reluctant to give out cards, and then first time he could with Gruev, he was like, all right, you're booked because you kicked away the ball. We'll get to that a little bit later as well, which was the right decision, but at the same time, he'd been really lenient throughout the match. Very confusing. In addition to this, Somerville missed another relative sitter, although he was lucky it was offside. I think that might have been on, but the fact that he missed and it was offside makes it feel a little bit better. But then Somerville and James came off, Nonto and Anthony came on, and were immediately very, very lively. They were able to create chances between each other. There was one incredibly early chance for them that I didn't quite see because LUTV got a little bit jumpy at that point. And then they scored. 2-1. I think it was Ethan Ampadu and Liam Cooper losing their man who was able to get in behind, cross the ball, and just about beat Rodon for the goal. It's a tricky one. Ampadu and Cooper, I think, were the ones to blame there. I'd need to see more replays in order to properly attribute it, but it happened. In response, we took off Ruter and Piru, which I think was the right decision. Ruter was starting to look tired. Piru was in a similar situation, and we brought on Bamford and Gruev. Again, I think that's the right move. Gruev is a very, very staunch defensive midfielder, and Bamford is someone that can press quite a lot from the front, disrupting the way they build up. From that point, we were a lot more organised in the ending with a little bit of shithousery, as I mentioned Gruev earlier, kicking the ball away from what was a fairly soft foul, let's be honest. Was probably the right thing to do. He's probably happy to take these yellow cards purely because he's in a position where he's not played too much football. If he gets suspended, oh no, he can't come off the bench for a match. It's completely fine, I think. And ultimately, we were able to keep it solid. We were able to finish 2-1 to Leeds United, and I think that's left the table in a pretty good situation for us. I'm just going to pull it up now. In fact, I'm going to try and pull it up in a correctly sized window for you. Share screen, England Championship, gosh. Yeah, here we go. Leicester and Ipswich, despite completely running away from us, very, very recently, I can't work out the right setup for this, are now still first and second, but on 39 points rather than miles away. They're both within 8 points of us now. Fairly catchable. And I think that is very, very, very promising for us. And Southampton, and Preston, but to a lesser extent. Basically, the title's closing up again, which was always going to happen. We were always going to hit the point of Leicester or Ipswich being on bad form. We just need to stay consistent to keep the pressure on them. I think this was a very, very good performance to close out the match against Plymouth because they might be 19th, but they're a side that has a flat goal difference, a completely even goal difference, which is very, very weird for a side all the way down there. But that proves that they're able to fight and keep games close. And the fact that we were able to secure this win is absolutely brilliant for us. Leicester losing out to, I think, Middlesbrough. Not great for them, considering Middlesbrough in 10th weren't looking fantastic before this match. They were in the bottom half of the table. Ipswich struggled a little bit against Swansea, who were in 17th, which we've got Swansea coming up. I think I'll be at that match, able to make some content around it. But hopefully we're able to get performances against those teams and really stamp our authority on the league and close up the gap even further. Anyway, Hope you enjoyed the video. Pop a comment down below if you've got anything that you want to say about the match. How did you think Firpo was? Anything like that. I've got a player ratings video coming up in the next few days. You can pop over to the Leeds United subreddit to fill out the form on that. Make yourself heard. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. Even become a member if you want. And I will see you later.